2464 Pod. Nick Fazekas, John Ramey with you. We record this Wednesday morning, February 5th, after Nevada's second consecutive victory, 74-60. The Pack winning at Air Force last night. That coming on the heels of Nevada's 71-65 over UNLV at Lawler Event Center this past weekend. You know, last time we spoke on this pod, we were lamenting a three-game conference losing streak, but we also did talk about how opportunity is one game away. And now Nevada has stacked back-to-back conference wins. They have 5 more days off now till they host Fresno State on Monday night, another winnable conference game at home. Things change during the course of a season, and it's funny to see it happen in real time.
Totally. And the UNLV game, again, could be that spark, getting that rivalry back at home, coming off the road. It could be definitely that spark or that kind of step in the right direction. Just kind of optimistically looking at the schedule, there are some favorable matchups kind of like going forward here the next couple weeks, which the Pack could kind of like start to, build into it to getting into March. I do kind of think that UNLV game, they looked really good. Looked like they had energy on both sides. Were able to score the ball a little bit easier than they have in the past. But you like the energy that they poured into that UNLV game, and it was a close game, and was able to kind of come out with the win.
Nevada also had a close game until it wasn't at Air Force. It was a 5-point game headed into the, second to last media timeout, maybe third to last. But it was, it was tight. Kobe Sanders against Air Force, 21 points, 7 of 10, 2 for 4 from 3, 5 of 6 from the stripe. I like him taking 10 shots. I like him making 7 shots. But I liked him generally just being more assertive in the offensive end.
Yeah, totally. And then you combine that with the free throws, and that doesn't even count on the field goal shot list, where it's like I've always preached to myself and other guys. It's like sometimes free throws can mess up the rhythm of a game, in certain instances with certain guys, but you always like to see a guy like Kobe. He shoots the ball 10 times, he shoots 10 free throws. Well, that's another 5, you know, field goals that he probably shot, or he did shoot, with a chance for the and one or whatever it may be. But those are probably 5 good possessions as well. So it's sometimes it gets kind of misconstrued in the stats, but you always like to see a guy like Kobe that it can be the forefront of the offense and go in there and shoot a bunch of free throws as well.
Also, Nick Davidson had only 3 attempted field goals in the first half against Air Force, but he finishes 8 of 15 with 25 points to lead all scorers. And Nevada, very clearly at halftime, Mike Furlong, the assistant coach who had the scout, told me post-game, he said, yeah, there was a huge point of emphasis on getting the ball to Nick. And so, I mean, it's just a good thing when you say to the team, we want to do this, and then you do it. And that's almost independent of who the opponent is, right?
Oh, exactly right. I mean, there's a scouting report, there's a game plan, and of course, you always believe that the coaches have the best idea or the best, navigation to get the wins. And so, when you can follow the game plan, you can execute the game plan. Probably more often than not, it's going to lead to the results of wins. So, yeah, I agree that I think that's a very positive step, a step in the right direction where you're executing the game plan potentially perfectly or as close to.
Okay, I am not cynical, or I try not to be cynical, but somebody who listens to this pod is going to say, yeah, calm down, Ramey. They just beat Air Force net 304, and a UNLV team at home, or a UNLV team in Reno. Nevada had the home court advantage, biggest crowd of the year, and UNLV was 11-10 going into that game. So explain to maybe the cynical or the skeptical. Let's not make a moral value judgment here. Just somebody who's skeptical. Why these 2 wins are actually worth maybe investing a little hope.
Well, again, you got to play who the opponent is. You don't get to choose your schedule, especially when it comes to Mountain West play. You don't get to, you don't want to play San Diego State or, Utah State every single night. Like, that's the fun of playing in conference. So I've always had the belief of, like, you play the schedule that you're handed and you go out and try to win every single game. So, yeah, are the Nets not there? Is the home win against UNLV? I put a little bit more value into that win just because it is that rivalry game. And I don't know if I get behind like that skepticism of, well, they're just 2, like, you got to start to build momentum somewhere. And it sometimes, like you said, during the duration of the season, sometimes it's nice to maybe get quote unquote a couple cupcakes to get moving in the right direction, execute game plans, build some confidence, momentum. And now all of a sudden, maybe you run off five, six, seven in a row before you have to run into another Utah State or San Diego State or someone like that, where you're actually showing up to that game like we've won seven in a row. Like we're feeling pretty good. We know what we're doing now.
Uh, I meant to say this earlier in the conversation, but I get excited talking to Nick Fazekas. So going back to the rivalry game, it was 11,008 at Lawler. It was the biggest crowd of the year, and it was two 11-10 teams. And UNLV came into that 5-5 in the league, and Nevada was 3-7. So, I mean, uh, it was not like these were two outstanding teams that you absolutely had to see in person. But the power of the rivalry called 11,000 plus people to gather. And I wrote about it uh, in my column on Monday. Is sometimes like when a team, like I think we've all said the same thing, whether it's Coach Alford or you or me or Len Stevens or whatever. The challenges this Nevada team has faced this season have generally been internal rather than external, right? Mental toughness, consistency, not talent, right? Would a crowd like that would maybe like the rivalry, which kind of exists in its own universe, allow the team to get out of its own head a little bit? I felt like there was something about the power of the rivalry and the fans focusing on the fact that it's UNLV rather than why isn't Nevada playing better? Right? There was a different energy to it. Or am I making that up out of whole cloth?
No, I don't think you're making it up at all. Of course, but did it feel like it's two mediocre teams going at it? Like it might, because they're both 11-10. But are both of those teams capable of making a run in the Mountain West tournament and getting to the NCAA tournament? Of course. So it's like the rivalry always brings a little extra. It's like you said, it's the biggest crowd at Lawler this season. So although the records might be there or whatever, but it always just has a little extra oomph to it, right? It's just always been like that with, Nevada and UNLV. And I suspect the same way when, Nevada goes down to Vegas. So I think that maybe doesn't, or maybe it's a little bit misconstrued by some of the fans, or maybe some of the skeptical fans, where it's like, well, they were only 11-10, but it's like, yeah, but that game goes up a couple notches because of the rivalry, because of the crowd, because of the energy in the building, where it feels more like a big time game just because of what everything you got going on.
One thing we haven't talked about much is your experience playing the Rebels, and obviously, Nevada will play them again in Vegas in March. But um, do you have a favorite Lawler memory against UNLV?
I think there's a picture that floats around quite a bit of a pretty sweet, probably potentially the best dunk of my career, where a guy's kind of standing underneath me and I was up there with two hands. Probably definitely the best dunk of my entire basketball career. But yeah, it was always just fun to go and play against UNLV. Of course, for me, we were in different leagues, right? So there for a bit, it was like we were outside of the league, so we weren't getting to see each other or twice a year. When they made that move to the Mountain West, and we stayed in the WAC for that bit. But yeah, of course, the rivalry's there. It's just fun. Like that's the fun of rivalry. That's why college football has rivalry week. That's why like rivalries are just fun to be a part of. And Nevada UNLV is one of the bigger ones, especially when you talk about West Coast. And I always enjoyed playing against the Rebels. I always thought it was fun to be able to, be the big man in the state. And so that was always fun for me.
Okay, Nevada now gets, I think they have a day off today. Um, and then they prepare for an 8 p.m. game, Monday, late game at home against Fresno State. How do they maintain the momentum they've built? Because momentum has been precious, hard to find this year. And so now the Pack's got to like keep the embers burning until Monday.
Well, just again, like you said, execute that game plan. Buy into what coach is saying. Buy into the scouting report. Clearly, those guys, at the top, all those coaches, they do a great job. They know what they're doing. There's a lot of trust that should be put into those guys, and it's like just execute what they want to do and go out there and play as hard as you can. So I think the 2 wins in a row will help. The big one being at home, and obviously now the Pack get to spend a little bit of time at the house. I think that helps as well. But yeah, the last one against Fresno was kind of that game that almost slipped away. So hopefully that, is behind everybody, and that's kind of in the past where you're just like starting to build on this UNLV Air Force win.
Okay, one last thing, and this is a little bit of it's not a downer, but it's a little bit of house cleaning. Trey Coleman did not make the Air Force trip. Steve Alford did not have him travel. He was conduct detrimental to the team, just a rule violation. Why is that important? Why does it matter that if you're hypothetically late to practice or some team rule is violated, even if you're a senior, even if you're Trey Coleman, why do those things matter?
You're trying to build a culture, right? And you're trying to build responsibility and accountability. And there's so many words that you can go down to what you're trying to build. And you got guys that are going to disrespect the time or disrespect. I mean, essentially, you're disrespecting everyone that's showing up on time. Of course, we don't know what the conduct detrimental to the team
Sure.
was, but, just use an example. It's like, if the guys are all showing up and they're taped and ready to go for practice, and so and so walks in 5-10 minutes late with an inexcusable absence or whatever it is, it's like we all showed up, we all came and did our job. I mean, I feel like it's very much the same thing of having a job. Like, you show up to your job to do your job, you show up on time, you're punctual, and of course, I'm sure Coach Alford's not putting up with any of that stuff. So yeah, the conduct detrimental could go in a million different directions, but at the end of the day, it's respecting everyone that is trying to fight for all that same goal, right?
And then just on that note, finally, when that has happened in your playing career, I mean, that generally is kind of galvanizing for the team, right?
Yeah, I think it's a definite eye opener where, I would think sometimes that sort of conduct detrimental to the team could kind of feel like a losing or kind of like a giving up sort of, action, I guess you could kind of call it. I mean, if guys are starting to just kind of disrespect everything that the program's doing or disrespect what Coach Alford's trying to preach or whatever, everyone's just going to be, well, we're not doing this anymore. Clearly, like we'll just do whatever we want. Like we just let the prisoners run the prison in a sense. But like that's not what a team is about, right? That's not what team sports is. It's holding everyone accountable. It's making sure that you're fighting for the man next to you, and everyone's bought into doing the same thing. So yeah, there are times where guys can make mistakes, and hopefully someone like Trey can learn from that mistake. But again, like you just don't let things like that slide if you're trying to build a winner or you're trying to build any sort of culture.
All right. Don't want to end on a downer. Just, I thought it was an interesting, and I'm not trying to get into gossip. I love Trey
Yeah.
Coleman. What do you got? You got golf this week? You said the sun's out. You got a
The
bye
sun
week.
is out. Waste management here in
Oh,
Scottsdale. It's
yeah.
kind of a fun time. You got a lot of people that are gathered around trying to do golf. And it's like 80 degrees here, so it doesn't get much better than this. But yeah, it's my first sort of time getting to go to like a professional golf tournament, kind of watching those guys get to hit golf balls, kind of just get to reminisce where it was like, I kind of used to be in this position where I was a professional athlete and I had so many people walking around wanting to see me play, where it was like I was one of these guys who were getting to walk around and just watch these guys hit golf balls. It's just impressive when, you have the appreciation, you're kind of a golf enthusiast, where it's like, this is pretty fun to watch these guys do this. It's just it's a pure strike every single time, it feels like.
They make it look easy.
They really do. They really do.
All right. He's Nick. I'm Ramey. 2464 Pod. Peace.